Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Heal Your Mind, Heal the World podcast. My name is Anne Marie Morales. Today, I have the immense pleasure of having on the lovely Rita Gigante. Rita is an author, an intuitive psychic medium, and more notably, the daughter of Vincent the Chin Gigante, a mob boss in the New York, New Jersey area. She has a lovely, really great social media presence, and she talks a lot about her life, her childhood, food, and the whole beautiful Italian culture that she grew up in. But today we're going to talk about spirit. We're going to talk about whatever she wants to talk about, but I'd love to hear more about spirit. So without further ado, I introduce to you Rita Gigante. Welcome.
Oh, Anne-Marie, thank you so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure. It is such a pleasure. Your story was so grabbing to me.
Hmm.
We both come from deep families. My family is Maltese. We're from the island of Malta, which is also,
Okay.
comes from that part of the world.
Yep.
And I have to show you, I don't know if you can see it, but look what I brought,
Oh,
which
uh,
my 100-year-old mama
oh my
still
God.
wears every
I love
morning.
it. Look at you. Love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We're having so much fun with that, with all the orders and I'm just so grateful that people are, you know, just loving it,
Yeah.
loving the fact that we brought back something that was so iconic, but so enmeshed in that time frame, at least when we were kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I remember, you know.
I remember having one. I actually used to wear
Really?
one around the house at 14.
Oh,
I
geez.
remember that.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I had my own house coat, my own
Uh,
little house coat. And my mom still wears hers every morning. She comes out of her bedroom, you know.
oh my God, that's so funny. I
So
love it.
were you born in the city or were you
I
born
was. I
in?
was born in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed there 6 months, and then we moved out to New Jersey in Old Japan. And I mean, I grew up pretty much half there and half in New York because we were always in the city, visiting my grandmother, my father, the whole thing. Dad lived with us for a little bit when we first moved out for about a year. So I was about a year and a half when he left. And I mean, that's really like, unless we go into the nitty gritty and details of that whole situation, that was my life till I got older and was driving and so it was. I was grateful because I loved living in New Jersey. But that's all I really knew. Like I felt bad for my sisters and my brothers because they were younger and they were taken out of their environment. For me, this was my environment from the beginning, even though we traveled a lot to the city. So um, it was just for me, it was a beautiful time. Like being a Gen X is like, I just think we had the best childhoods, no matter what was going on, even in my home life with dad and all of that. There were so many other things that the quality of, living in a neighborhood like that and connecting to, the farms that still existed. I think maybe there's one or two left over here by me, like locally. Um, yeah, and we, grew up on bicycles and being outside and playing, and there was none of this other stuff that we have today, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be if you're overstimulated by what we have today as far as social media and all of that. And I fought it for the longest time, doing it because I was like, I don't know. This is not me. Like I talk to people one on one. I talk to in person. Like that's just who I am. But it's helping a lot of people, and I'm seeing that now, and I'm grateful. And I realize that when you do it for the good, it's great, right?
Yep, exactly.
So
Yeah, of
yeah,
course. It's part of the duality. of this realm, right? Everything is like a negotiate. I say everything is a negotiation with some sort of darkness, whether it
Right.
be just money or internet or whatever.
Yeah, and
Uh,
money isn't evil.
no,
It's however it's used or abused or greed or that's what makes it that way. But um, everybody should have enough of everything on this earth. We have an abundance of food and supplies and money, and we just need to get our shit together, so to speak.
I agree. I agree completely. So you grew up in this family, but you have psychic gifts, intuitive gifts. Could
I
you
do. I do. And
please
my
talk about it?
grandmothers, it's
Yeah.
interesting because both sides have it. They just didn't use it the way I'm using it. But my dad's mom was able to see apparitions, one of the Blessed Mother, and she was a devoted rosary, prayer every day,
Mhm.
always. And she was devoted to Saint Rita, the Blessed Mother, Jesus. And so, these were in the, I want to say, in the realm of the Catholic religion. But for me, it became more of a spiritual thing. I connect to Mary, I connect to Jesus and the archangels and all that. Mary Magdalene, like all of them. But I also could connect to others like Buddha.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to come through, who's of the light, I can connect to. And it's no longer that it's, a Catholic thing because I don't practice it. It's more of a spiritual thing for me. So, all the man-made stuff, all the rules that they had, I just left it behind. And I took this other path that got me to an amazing place within myself.
Yeah.
So,
I see that that's an exact, it's like what I went through. It's
yeah.
exactly what I went through, where I say there's no Catholic like a Maltese Catholic because
Ah,
we are just like St. Paul visited Malta, and the shipwreck.
yeah.
So, we've been Catholic longer. Um, but I did too. I grew up in a very Catholic home where the rosary was said every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I get my gifts from my dad's side of the family. I always had some sort of like connection. Like I always,
Mm-hmm.
if I had asked a question, it always got answered in
Right.
my head.
Right.
So anyway, when I went through my awakening, when everything in my life fell apart, my marriage fell apart, it's like I had nowhere else to go but up. And
Sure.
through beautiful synchronicity, I began to learn Reiki and then I began to channel. And it's, again, something that brought me to where I am now. Your book is
Yes.
titled um, The Godfather's Daughter, An Unlikely Story of Love, Healing, and Redemption.
Yeah.
How much did your gifts play in this?
So, 2 years before the book came out, it was 2010. I started to write and write and write and put it all together. And as I was writing, I was clearing. As I was clearing, my gifts were getting stronger. And it started to really play a role. And then I was, having uh, flashes of the past that I didn't have already. Like at the end of the book, I flashed back to that one scene of me being under the table. So things like that were happening as well. And that's what got me to the point where the forgiveness letter happened and I was able to, you know, um, make amends with my dad. Um, and so yes, it played a big role because I want to say I could feel them. I sensed um, all of what was, all. It's so interesting because even all I wrote and all that happened, my father has come to me and said, "There's more. There's more." And so, I'm kind of still working with that. Like working with him and my mom and, the family to see what more do I need to, you know, how I look at it is help people with, because the stories that we tell always help somebody, right? And
Exactly.
so I'm, working on figuring out, okay, what's the next chapter of that I have to put out there and to help people with. So it it definitely was a big part of it, but it kind of came in stages because as I released the negativity and the old, stories and everything that people think they're defined by. What I realized was, no, I was breaking free of that. I wasn't defined by it at all, but that I was creating the truth, the real Rita, right? Remembering who I truly am as it was happening. So the deeper I got with it, the deeper the connection with spirit and my gifts.
That is such a beautiful example of how healing progresses.
Yes.
I don't know if you read my bio or whatever. I'm a hypnotherapist. And
Hmm.
so my relationship with the subconscious, with the superconscious, and helping my clients go through their own awakenings and their own healings for their own deep trauma, it's so loving that we are so loved by not only the Holy Spirit but by our higher selves and our higher wisdom, giving you what you needed at the moment
Yes.
to grow, to grow and to heal yourself. And how did I remember on an interview you saying, um did you have a conversation with your father in spirit?
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that interaction?
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was late afternoon and I was working on somebody and I had just finished, and there was a certain way that the sun was hitting the room, I remember, and it was just so like peaceful, I was just watching. Uh it wasn't setting quite yet, but we were almost there, and I could feel the presence of him. And usually when I would feel him prior to that, it was very like like heavy, like
Mhm.
like a bull in a china shop thing, right? But this came in and I wasn't even sure if it was him at first. It came in at a very, very peaceful, and this was really who he was in this moment. So he had shifted as well, and he said to me, I really, really am sorry. um Now I see who you are. Now I understand the strength of you and the strength of the women in the family. And I'm sorry I didn't have the eyes, or, the in that moment, like of his life, the wherewithal to see the truth of that. And I just listened, and he said to me, I really, really would like the opportunity to work with you. What it would mean would be, if someone needed him in a reading or he could help me in some way, he would want to do that. And I knew by doing that he would be working off some of his karma. And so I said, what a great way to help him as he's helping me, right? So I couldn't refuse the request.
Wow.
And since then he's the loudest, the most talkative. Like I often say to my mother, but where are you? Like you were my like right hand. Like, we were enmeshed, right? And she's really, really in her glory at this point, and she's doing her thing, and she's very, very strong. And she says, you need to mend this, like with him. We had ours. There'll be other times that we will talk, and there'll be certain things that we have to mend, but this is important, she's saying to me. And what it's doing is it's taking that whole um, masculine energy that was so overpowering um, as we were growing up, and we've leveled the playing field where it's no longer that. Now the feminine energy has really, you know, stepped up to the plate. And, that's what I'm really loving about it. Really loving.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to share this, not just with me, but with everybody in the interviews that you've done. It's
Oh,
really
of
beautiful.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
And through all of this experience, what has it taught you about the evolution of our souls, us being incarnate versus in spirit?
well, the evolution of our souls really are up to us.
Mhm.
That's what that's what I noticed a very long time ago when I was going through my stuff, and I said, oh, yes, maybe they did this, they did that, they didn't know how to do this, they didn't know how to do that, but they did their best, and now it's up to me to create what I want in my life.
Mhm.
So not to be a victim or a martyr, but to, say, okay, how can I learn from this? Even though it was really hard, and sometimes, being in the dark night was so devastating. And yet at this moment in my life, it feels like it was some other life or another lifetime. Um, but those are the questions that I would ask. What am I learning from this? How can I rise above it? How can I become the best I can because of this? Um, because of the experiences that I have. And I think that's the one thing I try to get across to people. Like, nobody's a victim. Nobody. We are very much responsible for how our lives turn out. Um, and I think sometimes people misunderstand source or God, thinking that the answers, you know, that somehow God intervenes and does what's supposed to be done, and that's just not the way it happens, right? We are God. We connect to that source, right? With our higher consciousness, we become one with that. And then we, with that energy, create what we're supposed to create. So
Mhm.
that's part of the goal here, to help people understand that so that they can be empowered to move through their lives and become the best version of themselves that they could be. The good news is, and I know you know this, even if you got an inch of that in this lifetime, it's huge, and you can come back and do it again, or you can go, to a different place and learn, or whatever you feel like doing. But the point is that you want to continue to do it. You want to continue to learn from it.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you again. What a beautiful explanation. And so, as we briefly chatted before I started recording, this podcast is called Heal Your Mind, Heal the World.
Hmm.
And I went through so much mental trauma in my youth and all throughout my marriage. It was really awful. Um, and I've come to find that once we heal our minds, we just heal everything. Can you talk about your own healing journey? Going
Sure.
from, I believe you had an eating disorder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. At the age of 10, I was already had anxiety attacks, panic attacks, but then OCD kicked in, and it was all around, clothing and food. And in my house, making sure you stayed thin was a thing. Um, and so I didn't think it affected me until probably I was in my mid 20s. And then once I was on my path to being healthy, my body was part of it, right? So I started to work out. I started to work out with a personal trainer. I changed my way of eating, all this kind of stuff. And that has changed over the years based on my work and the fact that I'm an empath and eating clean and all of that. Um, but the more I was able to, the more trauma I was able to release out of the subconscious mind, which was really, for those who don't understand that, I mean, you basically are running 90% on the subconscious mind every day. So whatever you're taught, good, better, and different, your decisions are based on that. So really getting to that subconscious piece of you and healing that piece is the key to being healthy in all aspects, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of it. So I've done hypnosis. I've done neurofeedback. I've done somatic therapy. I've done all the things that could help me, get to that place. And I'm still working on it. I know people sometimes think you're on this path. Oh, you must be 100%, right? It doesn't work that way because there's layers. I try to tell people all the time, like you heal in layers. There's sometimes you can't heal that much at one point because it's too much. And then, it can create more chaos in the energy, right? So you heal in layers, and every time a layer comes up, you work on it, right? So that's what I do on a daily basis. I just say, okay, spirit, what do I need to work on today? Whatever that is. And you just stay in that moment. You just stay in the day and you work on it.
Yeah, thank you. That's absolutely beautiful. I agree with you 100%. I made my career in helping people doing this along
It's
with my,
amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing.
I
Where are you
needed it.
located?
I'm in Florida, in the
Oh, you're in
Tampa Bay
Florida.
area.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Tampa area. And that's
Cool.
what happened to me. I went through my awakening. I started to channel. I learned how to be a Reiki master. And then about 4 years ago, I was living in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a job. I was an art teacher for a public school district and had this gorgeous house. I loved it. It was 100 years old, had stained glass windows. It was just,
Oh, wow.
I adored it. But my mom had a stroke, and
Mm,
I couldn't leave her. I'm an only child. I had to take
mhm.
her.
I get
So
it.
she came and lived with me. And one summer she was in the hospital for like a month. And I was like, you know what? This was like during and post COVID. My enchantment with the educational system was broken. Um,
Gotcha.
I I couldn't stand to see kids with snot and masks on their face. And I was just like, I couldn't
Uh,
handle it anymore. Like I just couldn't do it. Plus I was growing energetically, spiritually,
sure.
and I was just moving out of the congruency of just that whole system, the public
Yeah.
education system. Couldn't do it. Anyway, long story short, I made the decision to sell everything and move back here to her home, to my family's home here in Florida. And in doing so, I triggered Graves' disease.
Oh,
I went like I was always pretty chubby, you know, and I was always pretty chubby, but then like I guess I had thyroid problems my whole life, which I had no idea about. So
mm-hmm.
it shifted over to Graves' disease, and I dropped a ton of weight really quick. I had the goiter in my throat, my eyes, they're still a little buggy. Um, and so I needed more. Like there had to be more. Plus, Spirit was giving me clients that I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I don't
Right.
know how else to help them.
Right.
And at this point, I've been doing it for like 7 or 8 years, helping people with my energy work and the work that I do. So, long story short, I learned about hypnotherapy, and I can tell you, I don't take thyroid medication anymore.
I
I
love it.
mean, the dealing with the mind, because the mind is everything, right? You heal your mind and you heal your body, you heal your mind, and then it goes forward into
Yep.
the world and you
Yep.
shift your entire reality, right? Have you
Mm-hmm.
noticed that in your own life?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There is still parts of me that have the OCD. So I know there's still things that need to be worked on, but God, when I look at myself now and I look at myself, when I was in my 20s, I'm just a different person.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of the little leftovers that I have, I've transformed. And the most beautiful part of that is, now I have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the wanting to really help others know that they can do it too. So
Mhm.
that's yeah, I think it's like the ripple effect, like you every time you heal something about you, it still ripples out. It shows people that they can do that. So
Yeah. And can you, in your own life, how did your family take, I mean, you came out in two ways, right? I mean, you came out as, a lesbian, and you came out as an energy person. Like, what was
Yeah,
that like in your own family
I'll
life?
tell you. Well, Dad really didn't. My brothers, they really didn't know about it or understand things like that. But my sisters and my mom, like as I was going through massage school, they were like, "Oh, they got it." And then as I was learning other things and I was explaining it to them, and it took them time, but over time they understood it. Now, they come to me and ask me questions about everything. Um, so it was a work in progress. But even for me, it was like some things were brand new. I didn't know what some things were. I had to learn about them. And but what I noticed was like I was very much connected to the physical body. I wanted to know everything about it. So I went to college and I learned. Um, but when this happened, I wanted to suck everything up. Like, what else can I learn? What else can I learn? And then I realized, oh my God, there's just a plethora of information. And then you have to be very discerning about where your information comes from, with your own belief system and all of that, because we're all human here, right? So even people that channel, like us, we're still human. And that's why I think when I work with people, it's more of how can I empower you to get what you need, as opposed to me just telling you what spirit says. And I'm really careful with that, because although I am a psychic and a medium, there's something to be said about helping others get their own information and know that they are capable of that, so that they don't give their power over to somebody else, no matter what kind of guru or person that they're talking to, because again, we're all human, right?
I love that. We're so in sync. It's really kind of beautiful. That is exactly my philosophy.
Yeah.
And when I do work with people, and it's all about them. Like I say, I am getting you to a certain point, but you've got to
Yep,
keep it there.
that's
And
right.
we also, I don't know. I also have
Like you
a
could
certain,
teach people, right? You could
yeah.
you can lead them to the water, but they have to continue the path. And that's what I tell even my students on Patreon Monday nights. I'm like, listen, this is going to be a phenomenal guided meditation, but it's not a one and done. Like you need to do this, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's hectic because there's a lot going on in the world. But if you can even take 10, 15, 20 minutes, it's worth every single minute, second that you're doing it, honestly,
Yeah, I agree. It's
whatever
an
it is.
investment, right? It's an
Yeah,
investment in you, in
exactly. You
your
invest in a house, in a car, or whatever you invest in. But what could be more important than investing in you?
absolutely. Was there an experience that woke you into your, let's say, your mediumship or your psychic nature? Was there an event that you were like, holy crap, this is different that you
So
could share with us? Yeah.
yeah, so I think growing up, I didn't know what to call it. I just like could feel things,
Yeah.
and then I knew, but I didn't know how I knew. Like it was just kind of in me. The clairvoyant, claircognizant, the clairvoyant, clairaudient came much later when I did massage therapy and I put my hands on people and then I started to see or hear things like that. And it was methodical. Like it was very there was there was a couple of times though, every single time I went through the dark night, there was an upgrade in me of my gifts. So so they became stronger, right? So and then I remember realizing that my parents weren't going to be able to really help me through what I needed the help with. And once I realized that and I surrendered, holy moly, it was like within 24 hours, everything changed. And I felt that power come within me. And I started to feel the experience of I can do this. Like I'm capable. And then Spirit lovingly put me in touch with people that were teachers. And so they were teaching me about, shamanism or chakras or astrology or numerology or whatever it was. And I just whatever I felt connected to, it was drawn to, is what I did. Like I did Reiki. I did the whole Reiki thing, but the chakras is what stood out for me. So, that's where I put my energy and my work in. Um, yeah, that's really the whole process of it. It was very, very. I think because of who I was and the fact that I was so sensitive, and there was so much trauma. If they tried to hand this to me in one shot, I probably would have melted. So so it needed to be done like over time, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah, beautiful. Um, how how do you and what are you offering people today? Like, how does
Oh,
this fill into your life today?
yeah. So I'm still doing readings. And for me, it's a combination because I am a healer, psychic medium, spiritual mentor. So it's all combined in one reading. I had to really cut my readings down because of my energy. Um, so I'm still doing that. I do some groups. I still teach. I have my Patreon on a Monday where I'm teaching on that platform. And, I started a couple of podcasts that I'm working on and stuff. So, and then I'm cooking, and then I'm a comedian, and, I wear like 900 hats, but I think that's the part I love the most. Like that so I knew at a young age, I was not a 9 to 5 person, but I also knew I couldn't stay with one thing forever. Like I needed diversity. So this really gives me a lot of diversity, and I'm loving it.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can identify. I'm like always learning, always shifting and moving. I tell you, very similar, similar and different in its own way. I
Yeah.
love it. Absolutely love it. Any other stories or anecdotes you want to share about your life? Some anything that you feel like you don't usually touch on in maybe other podcasts that you feel comfortable talking about here?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, my life's an open book. I could really talk about anything. But I am, interestingly enough, how we talked before about the eating disorder stuff, and so I find it really funny, and I understand why Spirit, started this with me. I started doing, going to these restaurants, and although I'm gluten free and for the most part dairy free, and sometimes I let that go a little bit. Um, I find it interesting that they have me going to all these places trying different things that I would not normally do. You know, I would normally stay in a very comfortable zone of eating a certain way and blah, blah, blah. And so this, and then to actually write a cookbook with, family stories, and then being able to, process that whole eating disorder thing in there, um, is just another like unbelievable gift that Spirit gave me, the opportunity to heal that aspect of me that's still not 100%. So it's not so much like anorexia or bulimia or anything like that. It's a disorder that connects to the OCD and wanting to eat healthy and have my body healthy and all that. And so this is allowing me to do that, but also try different things that I haven't, branched out to try before. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's something that I'll talk more about in the book, but I don't, nobody's ever asked me about that piece of me, the whole eating thing. So I'm kind of grateful it came up today because um I'm a foodie on top of it all,
Mhm.
you know? I love chocolate dark. Um, I love ice cream, like popcorn, like I could eat that all the time. Like I love all these things, but I also know my limits, and I also know, what's the better version of everything because I research everything to death. And and maybe that'll help others that are having the same issue, you know? So, and so much happens after when you're perimenopause and then after menopause, so much happens to the body. And you really need to be connected to yourself enough to know what to do. I don't think everybody is, and they need to be. So if there's any way I can help someone with that, because listen, I learned just by trial and error and going to people that I trust to help me. So you have to be your own advocate today, when it comes to whether it's, doctors or practitioners or whoever you go to, you know yourself the best. You have to be your own advocate.
Yeah, I tend to see that we've we've given our power away collectively, and we look to somebody who's dressed a certain way, like in a white coat,
Right.
with little blue letters saying, "Oh, this is what you're going to do," and everybody's like, "Okay," and they blindly follow.
Well, out of fear
Yeah, out
usually.
of fear.
And sometimes the doctors are 100%,
Yeah.
and other times they're not, because again, they're human,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So,
When I was going through, when I was diagnosed with the Graves, uh, I was dating somebody at the time, and he's like, go to the doctor. And I was like, no, I don't want to go to the doctor. And I stayed, and I went with like intuitive healers and did a whole bunch of holistic things. But I actually needed to go to the doctor. I needed to be on the medication. And my guides told me, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
right.
Western medicine heals people every single day.
That's right.
So I just kind of like, but they also told me that I needed to get to a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
like learning about myself. Like,
Yeah.
I told you leaving that house was devastating because I redid it. And so it was like me, right? And I had to realize that it wasn't the house that made me. I had made that house,
Right.
right? So like
Right.
I created that house. So if I created something like that once, I could do it again somewhere else and do it a different way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that with the pharmaceutical side of it. I I tried doing the natural for the depression and anxiety because of all the trauma. And it lasted about 6 months. I was on like GABA and 5-HTP. And then Spirit said to me, you ready?
Mm.
I was like, all right. So they put me on like 10 milligrams of Lexapro. And I'm going to tell you, Anne Marie, that I didn't even swallow it. The minute it hit my tongue, my whole body shifted. Like I came in my body, I was grounded. I was like unbelievably, I could not, I just couldn't believe it. And I lasted like that for a long time. And sometimes I tried to come off of it and it just wasn't, wasn't working, no matter what I did. And so what you said before about, you need to heal to a certain point. And I think to myself now, maybe I'll just need it, and that'll be it. Like that, I'll just be on it and that'll be it, right? So not too long ago, I tried again to wean myself off and I couldn't do it, right? Okay. So always though, what Spirit tells me, which I want to share with people, is that whenever you take a medication, no matter what it is, you talk to that medication, you thank that medication, and you put it in your mouth and you ask it to do what it's supposed to do, all the right things, and get rid of the rest. Because that's what Spirit said was happening. They said, we don't know why you're worrying, because it just gives you what you need, and it just gets rid of the rest of it. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even know that could happen. Right? So I urge people to use both the alternative and not to dismiss that other piece, because I think we still need it. We're not at that point yet where we don't need it, but we will be there. That I can tell you, we will be there.
Thank you so much. That I agree with that 100%. I think it's beautiful. Wisdom to bless things before you ingest them, right?
Absolutely.
Ah, and we forget,
Absolutely.
like we totally forget.
Ah,
I forget all the time. Like,
even if you just went, amen, Like it doesn't have to be some kind of elaborate thing. That's another thing. People think they need to do things 100% the right way, or they're not doing it at all. And like meditation or whatever. And I'm like, there's so many ways to meditate. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to sit there for an hour oming. Doesn't. So you just got to find what works for you and stick with it.
Exactly. And there's such spiritual snobbery too, right? Like, oh, you're on medication. Like you can't like,
Oh God, I know,
right.
please. Exactly. And I think it's good that we're talking about it because people then can understand, um, wow, yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Not
I
a
think
bad thing.
we can't hold this all or nothing in us,
No, not at all.
right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Th-
Um,
There is never an end all be all other than your higher self and your connection to source. That's
right.
the end all be all,
Yeah, I
right? The
agree.
rest of it is subjective to, you know.
Yeah. I I had anxiety from, I think when I went away to college, I
Hmm.
started to get anxiety and it just was very poorly managed. I had my first anxiety attack when my younger son was like 8 months old. And I was empathic. I didn't know what it was. And, my ex husband and I, we had so many good things going for us, but I could tell I could tell there was something off there, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
So it like internalized in me and manifested in anxiety and a lot of other things. Long story short, we moved to New York, to Staten Island. I was working in the city and I witnessed 9/11 out the window.
Mm.
And so, like, whatever, like, parapet, like, mentally that I was walking on, I just like flung off the edge and I
Yeah.
needed freaking help. I needed help. And yeah, I was put on the same medication on Lexapro.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, my body needed it. I could not handle it.
Yeah.
We're tissue, we're chemicals.
That's right.
Um, and everything is under the umbrella of God. I mean, everything serves God. So
Sure.
we can't demonize things.
Exactly.
It's just we can't go there. And we need to be in love and forgiveness to those around us who we may think we might know a little bit better than they do. But what's the point of that? Like,
Right. Of course. Of course.
really? Like, what's the
Absolutely.
point of that? Non-judgment and forgiveness. That's how
That's the
I hope
key.
to do it. Hmm.
That is the key. I love everything we talked about because it's nothing I've
I love that.
like talked about before. So this is really good stuff.
Terrific.
People don't normally ask things the way you're asking, so I love it.
I love to hear
And
that.
I think people are going to get a lot out of it.
Hmm. And so, Rita, can you give us any idea as to how you see, let's say, a movement from like maybe religion to spirituality, or how are you witnessing people's eyes being open? Because we're going through a big awakening. That like the veil is thinning, people are
Hmm.
coming online with higher wisdom. What's your experience been, and where do you see us going?
Yeah, because I am surrounded by it, I'm seeing more and more people connect to this. Um, and, especially, it's interesting that when, um, people that they're were raised Catholic, but they'll listen to some of my stuff and they'll start to think, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Or then there are those that are very, very, no, that's what it is. Like it needs to stay that way, which is fine. Um, it's not about changing someone's mind, right? It's really about opening them up to something bigger than than they know now, so that they can make a conscious decision on what feels right to them. Not because it was forced down their throat, not because it was just how they were raised, not because if it doesn't feel right to you, then it doesn't feel right. Then you have to figure out what feels right. And if going to church every Sunday feels right, my God, go and do it. Um, for me, I find that I can do it anywhere, especially in nature, right? It's where I find the most solace. Um, so I'm finding more and more people being opened and having their minds open to it, and actually um, being able to connect in a different way. Now, that being said, when I do my little skits, that I think most people don't realize that it's all in fun. Um, you know, some people didn't even know I was a psychic medium. They thought I was a comedian, and so um, people, they take things very, very personal, and it's like I said, it's really all in fun. And so you'll get people that come out and say, something about being Catholic, and you're going to be punished, and things like that. And I just go, okay, well, listen, there are still people who believe in that punishment, and in an eye for an eye, or whatever, whatever it is. And that's it's a shame that they are in that place, only because I know, at least my truth is, there's no hell, there's no
Mhm.
punishment. You just reap what you sow, right? What you put out, you get back. So um it's you can't be forgiving and loving and still be in judgment of something. It's an oxymoron. Like, it doesn't work that way, right?
Mhm.
But again, people are where they need to be for whatever reason. So, but I am seeing a trend, more in the spiritual direction, whatever that means. Like, it could mean a million things. I have a dear friend of mine whose son is Buddhism now. He's connected to Buddhism. So, and that may change in 2 years, and who knows what, you know what I mean? And why can't we connect to all of it and understand all of it? I think, when it comes down to it, it comes down to love anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. I still take my mom to Catholic Mass on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
She's 100 years old. She still cooks and wears her little house coat and
God bless her.
watches the Mass on EWTN every morning and says the rosary after every afternoon. And I'm going to honor her and take her because that's what I'm going to do.
That's it.
But every time I go, I get light language. I feel connected because I'm surrounded with people who are connecting with God.
Exactly.
Um, and so again, and there was one time I remember right in the beginning of my channeling career, uh, I would say to God, Jesus, how can you stand it? You're up there dead on the cross. And blah, 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 blah. And Jesus pretty much said to me, I said, Anne Marie, don't judge them.
Mm.
They're just like you. You were
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
You were there at one point. They've got their own spiritual journey.
That's
So
it.
let them
And
be.
that's right. And we need to be in acceptance of that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what truly needs to happen for everybody to extend that kind of love and support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people go through evolution, like
Yeah.
they grow along with this, because I think, like everybody, they get to a point where, oh my gosh, everybody has to know about this. And oh my gosh, if you only knew, like there's so much disclosure coming out about
Yeah.
so much, and ETs and UFOs, all this kind of stuff. Have you ever encountered any other than human spirits? Let's open
In
that room.
my meditations,
Yeah, cool.
I've connected to them. Yeah. The Pleiadians are very, very much connecting to the earth plane right now to help all of us, the Syrians, because that's where the lineage of, from what I know, that the Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and Jesus comes from, the star Sirius. And so there's so much to learn, and you know, um, really ingest, so that you can understand the full picture. And that's why we do evolve consistently, because if we're willing to walk the path of learning and opening ourselves up, then we know what feels right and what doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You know, we just have to trust that.
Wonderful. Well, Rita, I can't thank you enough for spending
Oh
some time
my
with me.
God. It was my pleasure. Please. This was lovely. Lovely. To find somebody that's, or working with somebody that is on that same wavelength,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that others that listen to this are gonna benefit from it. And thank God this is what we need.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for your time, really grateful for you.
Me too.
And finding like a kindred spirit in this world is rare, and I love it.
Me too, honey. Blessings to
Uh,
you on your
Same
path.
thing.
Much love.
Much love to you. Can you please tell people where to find you if they want to reach out?
Yes. If they want to make an appointment, they could go on to ritagigante.net. I'm all over social media, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, those are the main. And then of course I'm on YouTube. They can find my channel on YouTube. Yeah, so those are the places they can reach me.
Awesome. And your book is on Amazon, right?
Amazon. Yep. Or they can order through my website and I can send them a signed copy.
Ooh, sounds cool. All right, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us to the very end of the podcast. Again, my name is Anne Marie Morales. You can find all of my offerings at ammhypnotherapy.com. Blessings and be well. See you till next time.